Hey. You know what time it is.
It's time for the heart to heart journey to Unconditional Love Podcast.
That's right. And I'm your host, Delay Bloomer. That is my co-host, Harlan Brown. And Harlan Brown, what's up? What's up?
What's going on? How are you? How
I
are
don't know.
you?
We got technical difficulties with this intro. We got to get a different intro, man. I love
What's
that
going
intro, but
on?
I got a new one for us. Um,
Oh,
this crazy. Hey, listen, all everybody's been trying to just sabotage us. It's crazy. But you know what's even crazier? God won't allow it. And this is why we're here today, and this is why we're still here, and this is why we're still um, you know, walking in our purpose, uplifting the kingdom through the heart to heart journey to unconditional love podcast. Man, we're coming up on a year. Isn't that crazy?
I know it is very, very crazy that
Yeah, we
it's
got
coming to you.
we got something special for the audience when that year comes up, which is only in a couple of days.
It's
So yeah,
crazy.
but we wanted to wrap up this image versus I versus I that we call it, this image versus identity. Kind of put the finishing touches on it today. So we're just gonna jump right into it because we've been long-winded, but there's a lot of good information. And
It is
I
a lot.
hate going as long as we've been going, but hey, it's been great because that message is getting out. I've gotten great feedback from people, and it's they're engaged in the conversation, and they're kind of understanding and getting a better picture of themselves because
Yeah,
they didn't really think they were walking in the image when they were, and it wasn't their identity, true identity. Especially the one that I'm talking about, as far as that God created us in His image,
right.
so we don't have to recreate an image. I think a lot of people gravitated toward that, and then understood that image is temporary, and
Yeah,
at some point it's going to be exposed. And identity is on solid ground. It's anchored. You know what I mean?
yeah.
It's anchored. It's grounded in and rooted in truth. So that's just the good things that we have about image versus identity. So we're just going to jump right into it. So our topic today is going to be boom. Where are you operating from? Image or identity?
Okay.
Image.
Yeah.
Then we're just gonna jump right into it. And you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna also jump into the scripture. We're gonna give them the scripture first, and then get
Okay.
into our discussion about this. So the scripture is Galatians 1:10. Can you read that for the audience?
Absolutely. Am I now trying to win the approval of human beings or of God? Or am I trying to please people? If I'm still trying to please people, I would not be a servant of Christ.
Yeah, that's crazy. So am I now trying to win the approval of human beings or of God? Or am I
Right.
trying to please people? So that's the question. So if you're doing that, then that definitely means you're walking in you're walking in image. And the second part
Right.
of that is if you're still trying to please people, then you wouldn't be a servant of God.
Right.
You wouldn't be a servant of God, which means you can't be rooted in your identity because you're trying to please people. And what do we say about trying every podcast? Trying will keep you in the same place.
Right.
And it has, and it will.
Right.
And it's crazy that this is the way that it goes. But these are the things when we had the I versus I, that image versus identity. Which one do you want to stand on? And we'll go back to that question and leave it up there. Where are you operating from? Are you operating from your image, or are you operating from your identity? But no, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm
Mhm.
gonna before I even go into that, because I'm looking at this and I want to bring this out right now. So I'm gonna say this: before God reshapes identity, He exposes image.
God cannot, God cannot fix something that you are not trying to fix. He cannot fix the fake you. Like he has to see the real you. And you have to know who the real you is. God cannot work with an imitation of what you are. It's impossible to pray for something, for God to do something for you, And he's like, but you don't even know who you are. So how do you get that? So I just think I think that right there in itself just says everything. Like God is going to expose your image because what you're praying for, what you're praying for is that an image, is not who you are rooted. So yeah, you need to be careful of that's why people always say be careful what you pray for, because you just might get it. And if your image gets what you pray for, your identity is going to suffer.
And then we have already established image is on like shaky ground.
Right.
It's going to be exposed, whether you exposed it, whether someone exposes you, or whether God exposes you. And God has something to do whether you expose it yourself or someone else exposes you. So it's temporary. Image is temporary.
Definitely
So
is.
we take this serious in this podcast about this image versus identity. And we just want to give you a couple of things to just think about when you're really figuring out where you're operating or what you're operating in. And here's some questions that can help you. So, we just going right into it. We having a hard time.
Yes,
I'm sorry. We just going right into it because it's so good information, and I want to
yes,
make sure that we don't rush through it and that the audience gets a chance to understand what we're saying. So, the first question is, am I trying to convince people?
right.
So yeah, so if you're operating in image, this is the image or identity. This is the first question you have to ask yourself: am I trying to convince people?
Right.
Yeah.
What are you doing? Do you have to announce who you are for people to know who you are? Or would people just know who you are without saying it?
I mean,
It's
that's
just it's just that simple. Am I trying to
very
convince
simple.
you that I'm a good person? Do I have to walk around and be like, I'm a good person? Because I'm a good
Right,
person. I'm really a good
right,
person. Be like,
right.
okay,
Yeah.
we
If you
got
got
it.
to convince me, yeah, if you got to convince me who you are, then I can't believe who you are, and I can't trust who you are, and I I mean,
It's
if you're
easier
trying to
to
convince me, then you don't even know who you are, and you're trying to convince me you're this, and you don't even know who you are. So that's going to get a court. That's exposure.
yes, yes,
So if you can't answer this question, or if the answer is yes, then you know you're working out of image and not identity.
right.
Because when you're rooted in your identity, you do not have to convince anybody of nothing. You walk
Nope.
in it, people see it. My favorite word, and I tell my family, my kids, all that. Walk in your light. Let your light shine for you. You don't have to shine your own light. Like you don't have to bring attention to yourself for somebody to know that you're a good person.
No,
You don't have to bring attention to yourself to know that you love God.
no,
Your light shines. There's things that you do, the way that you carry yourself, the way that you are. So if you are trying to convince people, then you know you're walking in image.
right,
You're operating in image. So
right,
it's up to you. I can only give you the information. I can only give you heart to heart. Not saying whether you're right or wrong. We're just giving you an alternative way to look at things and to show you that there is a difference between image and identity, which a lot of people were mixing up and thinking that they were
right,
walking in their identity when it was the image that they created.
right.
So we're going to go on to number two. The second one is, do I feel unseen unless acknowledged? So does
Right.
somebody have to acknowledge you first so that you can be seen?
Yeah,
I mean, it's so black and white in this instance to me because
it is.
I've walked through this. We have walked through this image versus identity, and I've shared and disclosed I was walking in an image thinking that it was my identity, and it wasn't.
Right.
And it's okay. It's not that you're a bad person because you do it. It's just it
It's
sometimes
awareness.
it just happens naturally. Sometimes it happens because you're in the moment, you get caught in the moment. Sometimes it happens because you want to protect yourself, you want to control your narrative, and you don't feel that your true identity is good enough for who you're around and where you're around, where you don't feel, that you're worthy to be around the crowd that you are. But let me just tell you something. When you walk in your identity and that identity comes from God, that purpose, you are worthy to walk anywhere on this earth freely with
Absolutely.
confidence,
Absolutely.
and can't nobody question you about it.
Absolutely.
And don't let nobody question you about it, because when you walk in your identity and your purpose, God has got your back at all times. Is when you create that image, and I'm going to put this up there again. Before God reshapes your identity, He exposes your image. So when you create that image, God's going to expose that image for you.
Right.
Either he's gonna have you expose it, or he's gonna get somebody else to expose it for you.
He will show you. God will show you. God will show you that that's the image over your identity. So you have to be careful of, having to announce or having to be seen or having to perform for acknowledgement. Because if you walk in your own purpose and if you walk in who you are, then you don't have to do those things. Um, my grandfather always told me that you never have to announce who you are. You will your soul, which is your identity, will always speak for you. So you would never have to speak for that. Let somebody else tell you. Let somebody come to you and be like, you know what, you're a really nice person. Like, oh, thanks. I can humble myself and say thanks. I'm not walking around saying because you said I was a nice person. I'm a nice person. Look at me. I'm good. Look at me. I'm this. I'm that. It's not like that. You let your presence be enough. Let who God created you be enough.
Be enough. Absolutely. Good point there, Harlem Brown. We're gonna go on to that third one. Boom. Am I anxious about perception? So you got anxiety. Do I look good? Am I good? People gonna like me? Don't do this. Oh my God, I didn't do this. Oh, I don't have to design the clothes. I don't have this. I don't have the type of car. I don't want, I don't want a valet. I don't, you all this stuff. You get so anxious about perception.
We do it all the time. And
All the time.
I think that, and it's not a slight, it's not a shaming, it's not any of those things, it's just awareness. I want to say that again. But I'm just saying we have to get in tune with ourselves, right? It's nice to have things, but don't compare yourself to other people thinking that you have to be a certain way.
Yeah.
I can say it as a woman and being in industries that I've worked in, that yeah, it was definitely a label of what we look like when we came to work and what we look like when we
Yeah.
walked into different offices, what we look like when we represented our company. But at the end of the day, um, was it really who I was? Whether was I anxious? Did I have to run to the restroom before I walked in the room to make sure everything was in place and everything was where it was supposed to be and nothing was out of place? I
Yeah.
mean, that is stress within itself. And I just feel like, you know, as you mature in this, understanding your identity and your um image, then you understand like the performance is really not necessary, because the people who require you to perform is not who you need to be around in the first
I get
place.
that.
You need to be around the people who respect you for who you are in your identity.
That's it. And I'm gonna share a story. And this goes to show you that look, we all been through this. Well, if you haven't, then that's fine.
You will.
I promise you. I hope you never have to go through it.
You
But
will.
as soon as I got a manager position, I felt I needed to have that car to show people that I made it. That's that I made it car. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? I had a pretty decent car that I had that was paid off, but I went and got another car note because I had to show people that I'm a manager and that yes, I made it. One of the dumbest mistakes I could ever make. Put myself in a hole because now I'm scrambling around to pay another car note when I could have allocated that money for something else, just for an image, just for a perception, to say
Yeah.
people, oh wow, look at him, man, he coming out of that Mercedes. Ooh, yeah, I want to be like that because he's in management, and I want to be like that. And but little did you know, I'm struggling every month to pay that card note because I overextended myself. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? So when you get anxious about your perception, and when you care more about your perception than standing grounded who you are, it lets you know that you're operating from image and not from identity. Fast forward now, I don't care. Got the same car I had. I'm gonna wear it out until it's whatever. Yeah, and you can and I'll drive up in it, what have you. I still keep it clean, but it's not quote unquote manager style car, which you would think a manager would ride. But I don't have a car note. I don't have the stress of having another car note and overextending myself. You
Right.
know,
Mhm.
I stay grounded in that. And if somebody asks and says, "Well, it's paid for. Do you have a car note?" Well, yeah, that 4, 5, $600 car note, I could take that money and I could put towards something else.
Exactly. Exactly.
Like
And
and
also,
you
yeah.
can come to my house and see that I'm okay. I'm not defined by the car that I drive. I didn't know that back in the day, but that's
Right.
when I was anxious about perception and I was operating out of image. So, you got any last things you want to say on that before we move to the last point?
I just think, and also in that being anxious about your perception, um, we're talking about the image
Oh,
part
the
of
New
it.
York is coming out. So we talking about? Go ahead. What we talking about, Harlem Brown? What we talking about?
We're talking about the image of perception and how we create these images. But I also want to add to this also, don't be afraid of who you are. Like, don't be anxious
Yeah.
about being yourself because that also causes performance. If I'm
But you
too
can't
scared,
be anxious. That's the good thing. When you work, when you're in your identity and your purpose, and I don't mean to cut you off, you're not anxious about yourself because you stand grounded in who you are. It's rooted in the truth.
but you also have to understand people are rooted in it. You can know who you are and be rooted in your truth, but think that your truth is not good enough for this environment. You
But then
understand what
that
I'm
means
saying?
you're operating that means
And
you're
that's
operating
when
in image.
yeah, and then that's when people start to operate in image. And what I'm
Yeah.
saying in this is like, don't ever. I had a person who told me one time, like, oh wow, like I had on some jewelry and it had the name of the store on it. And it was like, oh, you walked in there. And I'm like, why wouldn't I walk in there? I wanted to buy it. So I had to go in there.
Right.
It's just like, but I wouldn't have I would walk in there, I wouldn't know what to say. I would like you just be yourself. And I
Be
think that's
yourself.
the thing that a lot of people create
Yeah.
like the image of everything is bigger than what it is.
Yeah.
When you walk in places where you think only the esteem is there. I've been in rooms with people who have changed the trajectory of our history. And I'm sitting there joking and laughing with them. They guess what? They spill coffee on their shirt just like I do. Like, so we're just human beings and we have purpose in our lives. And if we follow those purposes and we do what we're supposed to do, it doesn't make us greater than anyone. It just makes us a person who is following our purpose. You know what I'm saying? And it
Yeah.
doesn't mean that I have to shrink because I'm around these people. I'm around these
Absolutely.
people because I'm trying to glean from them. Like, what gave you the audacity to think that you can do this?
Yeah.
So, and that's
Excellent
not a
point.
bad question. It's just it is what it is. Like, and I
Yeah.
think that when we relax in that, instead of trying to be so pristine, like, oh, it's so great to meet you. It's such an honor. It's like we gotta stop. We just have to stop and be real people because I'm sure they get enough of that all the time. Let's just be
Yeah.
real with everybody. Let's just be real with who we are.
That's the excellent point, man. That's the excellent point, Harlem Brown. So, oh man, thank you for that. So we're gonna move on to the last question. Do I rest easily in who I am?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if you
See,
don't
and
rest
that's
easily in who you are, you know you operate in image. But if you rest easily in I am, like it don't matter who come around. No matter who
right,
come around, I'm resting easily in who I am because I am operating out of identity.
right.
And what's crazy about this whole thing, and I'm challenged the audience to do this, not to try it, but to do
Do
it.
it. Yeah.
When you operate in identity, you're calmer, you're rooted in the truth. It's internally you feel much better about yourself, Externally, you feel much better about yourself, and there's nothing that can knock you off your game. And you're relaxed. You're not uptight about anything because you know who you are. And then when somebody comes to question you, you you know who you are. You put them in their place really quick because you know who you are because you're rooted in the truth with your identity. That's what I'm gonna say about that. When you're talking about do you rest easily in who you are, it's such a calming, tranquil. What's other words I like to use? Just easygoing, just natural.
Yes.
That's the main thing. It's organic. It's natural. You don't have to put on a show. You don't have to put on a display. You don't have to do anything else but stand your ground and stand rooted in your identity, which is rooted in your truth. I'm gonna let that one. I'm gonna push that on to you because I could talk about this forever. And so I'm gonna give you the last word because I know our time is up. I hope you guys enjoyed uh the series about image versus identity. We wanted to end it like this, but there, I'm before I give you the last words, I thought I forgot. There's a few things that I want to talk about that I wrote down. So, ask yourself, if my life changed tomorrow, would my value change?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know what I mean? These are some questions I'm gonna have you think about. Pay attention to how social media affects your sense of worth.
Big
It
one.
changes us. Social media just, oh my God, people just go
It's a big one. Yeah.
hundreds over it.
Big one. Yeah.
Notice when you feel the need to impress. See, these are things that you know what you're operating in. Observe moments when you feel defensive. Pride may be protecting your image. That's one of
Yeah.
my favorite ones. That's one of
Yeah.
my favorite ones. Um, and I'm gonna end it like this. If any of those questions you have doubts about, pray this. God, show me where I am operating from image instead of identity.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give you the last words, and we're gonna go back to that one more time. But I'm gonna give you
Yeah.
the last words, Hollow Brown.
It's
And I know our
actually
time is up, but take
it
your
was
time.
actually what I was gonna say. I was gonna talk about anyway. When you rest easy in who you are, it is when you know that you are created in God's image, then there's nothing greater than that. If God is for you, who could be against you? So you have no reason to think that I don't belong here. I shouldn't be in this place. I need to perform. God
Yeah,
put you there because
yeah,
God needs authentic you that He created to be in that space. Because the you that He created to be in that space is what is needed in that space. So all of the images that you create is not going to get you any further than if you would just be authentic and rest in that. If you can rest in God created me and in His image, who are you to tell me that that's not right?
yeah,
I I was created in God's image. Like,
yeah,
how dare you think that I need to be something else? And you,
yeah,
you know why you was attracted to me? Because God showed you something about me, about my authenticity, about who I am, that gravitated you to me. So now that I started changing it, now I'm like, okay, I don't know. I
yeah,
don't know
yeah.
anymore because that's not
Right.
what I saw. So let's
Yeah,
let's watch that because that's what gets us in trouble all the time. So the only way you can rest is know who you are and know whose you are, and that you have every right to be wherever you are in this world. Anything that you get elevated to, you belong there. So just know that and rest in that.
see, so Bishop Bishop Harlem Brown just gave us Go ahead, evangelist. Go ahead and do your thing. So listen, audience, we just wanted to give you give you these nuggets just to understand. Ask yourself, where am I operating out of? Where am I operating out of? And if you don't know, we're going to end the podcast with this. I'm going to say trying to do something will keep you in your same place. But when you actually do something, your place has no limitations. But we're going to end with this prayer. Just say, God, show me where I am operating from image instead of identity. Show me. And that he will show you and he will change your life. Because we talked about it before. Before God reshapes your identity, he's going to expose that image. Get rid of it. Just expose it. Get rid of it. So pray that prayer. And that's how we go in this podcast. I am your host, the late Bloomer. That is my co-host, Harlan Brown. And we'll see you next week.
See you next week.
So very much.